Hello everybody, my name is Rob Gardner at DFS Today on Twitter. You can also tweet our team at FantasyDgens on Twitter. And I'm here to talk about our VIP level of account access, $29.99 across all 8 sports. And I've already covered in the first 3 videos what you get as a free user, a beginner user, and a professional user. And so now I'm going to focus on what you get with the VIP tier. We're going to start with our expert ratings. For each slate, our guys are going to go in and we're going to give our expert consensus of who we think the top plays are, independent of all the numbers. And up here at the top, if you were to click the expert filter here, it's going to go through the dash and it's going to auto filter them by our expert choices. And this is just another great way to kind of see how we feel about the slate, who we think the top picks are, and how you should approach them. Again, you don't always have to go exactly by what we say, but it's always nice to have a little bit of security and understanding as to who we're playing and how we're playing them. Along with that, we have our exposure. This is available only to the VIP side, and what this is it's basically a sample exposure of what percentage of rosters you should put these golfers in, or players, depending on the sport, if you're playing multi-entry. Now, if you're only playing 3 entries, this isn't going to be very relevant to you. But let's say you wanted to put 50 entries in the quarter arcade, for example. This is a great way to start your exposure and have a place that you could feel fairly safe about your exposure built. Now, because it's built for 50 or 150 rosters, the exposure is pretty wide, and it does include a fair amount of players. The goal is not to take a super strong stand unless it's absolutely necessary, and so you'll see that more often than not, most players will be in the 10 to 30% exposure range. But on occasion, there'll be a play, for example, Phil Mickelson on this particular week was pretty much a must play, and so we set his exposure as high as 80%. Now, what's cool about our VIP tool is that you can actually hit this match exposure button right here, and it will actually set every single play to match the expert's exposure. This is a great starting place for you in terms of having your exposures initially set somewhere, and then you can go in and tweak accordingly. If you like a player more or you like a player less, you can go ahead and decide how you want to approach that player. This will allow you to build your rosters faster than ever before, and if you're in a hurry and don't have a lot of time, you can very quickly go to the roster gen and build 50 or 60 rosters that you can feel good about just by using these features. The third feature, and probably the most powerful feature, is our Stat Blender. The way our Stat Blender works is it allows you to set weights on the 4 key stats in any sport and come up with your own custom rating. We know that in any sport there's a different set of opinions and biases to which stats people like more. For example, in baseball, some people love BVP, some people hate BVP. Specifically in golf, some people live by course history while others completely ignore it. This Stat Blender allows you to decide what matters and what doesn't in the 4 sports. So to give you an example, I'm going to go ahead and go into the PGA Blender here. And you can see currently my scores for history, form, and stats and made cut are all 100%. But let's just say that we wanted to really trust Vegas and we didn't want to worry at all about course form. For example, or recent form. Maybe you're in a situation where this week's course is one that plays a lot different than recent courses on the tour, and you want to focus just on guys that really have played extremely well here in the past. You can put this form all the way down to 20%, put the course statistics at 60%, leave your course history at 100 and your Vegas at 100, and save these weights. When you do this now, you can see across these random scores exactly how this would affect the overall score and the blender score. Now, for some golfers, it's not going to make much of a difference, but for others, it can make a really big difference depending on what their raters are. Once you've set these how you want them, you can go back into the dashboard and pull it up, and now you will still have your overall ratings, but now you will have these new blender scores on the right side of your dashboard that will determine exactly what your weighted scores are. And as you can see right here, like for example, Adam Scott, his blender score is way different than his overall score because he doesn't have a course history score and his form is really strong, and that's playing an impact. So what you can do now is you can actually go in and you can sort by your blender score. and use the picks that you've made to get a different look at the stat thing. You can change your blender score as many times as you want, and you can use it in a wide variety of ways. By setting your blender score for a particular stat to 0, you can make it not even count for a particular stat. So, for example, let's say that you just don't believe in recent form at all. You could set that score all the way down to 0. And by setting it all the way down to 0, it would have no impact whatsoever on the blender score. It would be completely taken out of the mix, but your overall rating would still be intact. There's a lot of different ways that you can use this tool, and this tool works across all of our sports, giving you great ways to kind of decide how you want to approach a particular stat across a particular sport. So here we've got baseball, we've got our pitching stats, for example. You can decide that strikeouts are extremely important, and you can completely ignore regression. Or maybe you want to focus on regression, but you don't really care what pitchers have done in their last 3 games. All of these options are available to you and at your control with the Stat Blender. We believe the Stat Blender is going to take a fantasy approach to the next level because it's going to allow you to get past the stats and cater your stats specific to a slate for that week and conditions that week, which we believe is going to make you more successful. That's it from us at Fantasy DGens. If you have any questions, hit us up on Twitter. You can hit me personally at DFS Today or hit the team at Fantasy DGens. Good luck in your contests.